What up YouTube? Welcome back to another video. Today we're going to be fitting a double wide fan to the hot end of the Balco 3D printer Touch. So let's get into it. So the main reason for this upgrade is actually to prevent clogs. If you've got the stock fan and it's not working so well as mine was, then you can get heat creep into the cool part of the hot end, and then that causes all sorts of problems. So we're going to be using a buck converter to convert the 24 volts down to 12 volts, and that way we can fit a double wide Noctua fan. And if you haven't heard of Noctua, they do really good fans. So let's get on with the build. So the original plan was to actually mount the buck converter inside the printer, so it was all nice and neat. But there's a very good reason as to why I couldn't do that. But I'll just explain how I took the bottom off first, because I think it's useful to know. First, you want to take the two screws that's holding that little support piece in the middle out of the way. Once they're out, you can then just remove that little support piece. Then there's 6 screws, where I'm just pointing to here, that you want to take out and remove them out of the way. Once they're all removed, you can then just take the bottom of the printer off. Now here lies the problem. The actual hot end and all the electronics there connects using a single ribbon cable, and I have no idea which pin corresponds to the fan. Maybe there's a wiring diagram out there, but I thought it was going to be much too complicated to try and single out the 2 pins we need and solder through them. So I ended up deciding on mounting the buck converter just on the plate behind that protects all the little connectors and things for the different fans and the stepper motors and such. And if you offset it ever so slightly, you can see the ribbon cable passes by without rolling on anything, which is exactly what we need. So if we start here by taking that plate off, and then we can get to all the little gubbins and stuff behind it. This is done by just removing the 2 little screws that's holding it in place. Once they're removed, you can take that little plate out of the way. Now this is an optional step, but I actually found it easier to work on things with that ribbon cable disconnected. So if you just gently pull on it and give it a wiggle, you'll be able to take it out of its socket. Next, you want to remove the 2 screws at the bottom of the fan that's holding the extruder mechanism in place. Now be careful with this, because that motor is quite heavy, and once you take the screws out, it'll want to just drop. So gently take that out of its place and just rest that on top of the bed. Once that's resting on the bed, you'll be able to remove the fan and the heatsink quite easily. Once that's out far enough, you'll be able to remove the heatsink and then the 2 little spacers behind the fan. Next step is you'll want to remove the little cable tie that's holding all the cables in place, and this is behind the printer. So if you look behind the printer, follow the cable where the fan's going, and you'll see a little cable tie. Just give that a snip, but make sure you don't snip the cables. Next, you want to disconnect the fan, and it's the second connector from the mounting point of that little plate. So again, just give it a wiggle and gently pull, and it'll come out. As you can see, I had a little bit of an accident with my fan, so the airflow was not exactly optimal, shall we say. This is the fan we're going to be replacing it with. It's actually twice the width of the original fan, because I wanted some good airflow. And it's actually the PWM version. If you can, you want to get the regular version. The PWM version has an extra cable that you need to then cut off, but it doesn't affect the operation of the fan in any way. It's just a little bit more awkward. But here you can see the width compared to the original. Yeah, this should help a lot with both airflow and noise. Now the actual bolt that you need is somewhere along the lines of M3 by 48mm, and I could not find one for love nor money. It's just the 50mm is just a tiny little bit too long. So what I'm doing here is just screwing a M3 nut onto it and then marking 2mm with the calipers and just lining up the nut with that, and then that'll help get it started with a hacksaw, and then just using the hacksaw to just gently cut the bolt down. I say gently as I nearly go through the table there, but you get the general idea. Once that's cut down by 2mm, you want to just go over the edge of the cut with a file and just get rid of any burrs and any sort of bits that might rile on the thread, and then go over back and forth over it with the thread of the nut, and just make sure that it goes on and off smoothly, and go back to it and refile if you need to. This wants to be really smooth before you try and attach it to the motor itself, because if it isn't, you'll end up knackering the threads of your motor, and that's a lot more expensive. You want it to screw on as smoothly as the original would, so you want it to look something like this. You can see the small difference in size, but that makes a massive difference when we're mounting it. Now you want to put the bolts into the new fan, and you want to orient it so the cable is coming out the bottom left as it's screwed on. Next you want to put the two spacers back on the fan, followed by the heatsink in the same orientation as the original was, so it should be so the back of the heatsink, the flat part without the fins, is facing out from the fan, and the fins are facing towards the fan like this. Now you want to mount it back in the block through the two holes that it came out of originally. Now it won't actually screw into this block, it will just go straight through and it screws into the motor. So once you've put that into place, gently pick the motor back up, again in the same orientation that it came out with the extruder arm facing up, and then you want to just gently wiggle it about and screw it into place. It could be a bit fiddly to get into place, but if you persevere you'll get it into place, and just don't force anything, just make sure it screws in nice and smoothly. As you can see here, there is just enough room for it to fit nicely. There's about like 2 or 3 millimeters gap, and that's plenty of room for air to flow in. So here I'm just double checking the voltage, because some printers are 12 volts, some printers are 24 volts. I'm pretty sure this is a 24 volt printer, but it's best to double check. So I plugged the hot end ribbon cable back into place, and I'm just using a multimeter set to DC 200 volts to check the voltage coming from those two pins in that fan connector, and as you can see here it is 24 volts, so we definitely need the buck converter. So being as the previous fan's getting scrapped anyway, I'm going to use the cable off it to plug into that connector to make things a bit more neat. So here I'm just lopping off the cable with a pair of cutters. I also pulled the cables apart to make it easier to strip. Now I'm using some fancy cutters that I bought off Amazon. I'll put some links in the description if you want a set, but you can just as easily use any type of cable strippers and just strip about 4 to 5 mil of the insulation away and then twist all the strands together. Now I'm just using my 18 watt soldering iron to tin the ends of the cables, and if you're not sure how to solder, then I'll put a few links in the description to some soldering tutorials that I find really useful. You also want to put a dab of solder on each of the in pads, the in plus and the in minus as shown here. Next you want to attach the wire to the little pads, the red wire going to the plus and the black wire going to the minus, and you can do this by just laying the cable on top of the pad and then just heating it up until the solder melts, and you'll end up with something that looks like this. Next we want to cut the connector off the end of the new fan, so I left a little bit of leeway in case I needed to reattach it for any reason. I don't think I would have needed to, but it's good to be prepared. And pull the little sheathing from around the wires so you can actually see the 4 wires inside. So next we need to set the output of our buck converter to be 12 volts, and to do this we need to just make sure our connector is actually plugged in. That's a good start. And we want to just turn the little screw that's on top of the blue part on the buck converter counterclockwise to lower the voltage, and then we want to just keep probing the plus and the minus, the out plus and minus, to see what the voltage is, and just keep adjusting it until we get it down to 12 volts. Now just to let you know that the reason my multimeter wasn't giving a reading was because I had it set to DC 20 volts instead of DC 200, and if you're above 20 volts, which is what it was giving out originally, it'll just give you a 1. So I would recommend using the DC 200 volt setting until you're below 20 volts and then set it to 20 volts, because then that way it'll give you more resolution and it will give you a more accurate reading. So see, we've got exactly 12.00 volts now, which is exactly what we need. Now I recommend running the cable the way I have here, which is underneath all the other cables and then just into that little slot that 4 ribbon cable there sits into. So when you put the little plate back on, it then all smushes down together but doesn't actually catch on anything or get caught on anything. From the side view here, it should look something like this. Now you can put those 2 little screws back into place. Now I would recommend laying the little buck converter in place where it's going to be, and then you can see how long you need the cables to be. I would cut them with just a little bit extra slack in case there's any problems, and that also allows for a bit of room to strip the cables. Again, about 4 to 5 millimeters of the insulation removed, and then twist all the strands back together. Now this is very important. Depending on whether you bought the non-PWM or the PWM version, the colours will actually be different. So for the non-PWM version, or the FLX version it's also called, it's the plus 12 volts is the red and the black is the ground. Whereas for the PWM version, the yellow is the plus 12 volt and the black is the ground. So make sure you use the plus 12 volt for the out plus and the ground for the out minus. Now that was a bit of a janky setup there because I couldn't hold on to it properly, and I ended up taping the buck converter to the little plate temporarily, but you want it to look something like this once it's done. Now at this point it's a good idea to test everything's working, and I actually thought that I'd messed something up because it was that quiet I couldn't hear it running. So here's a little comparison between the old fan and the new fan. But yeah, you can definitely hear a massive difference there. Most of the noise in the second shot was actually my computer. But now we're on the home stretch, so we just want to cut the odd cables down a bit. And I actually wrapped some insulation tape around it off camera just to make sure nothing connects together. Although nothing should matter with those two because it is just signal wires. Now just to make sure, I sprayed a little isopropyl alcohol on a paper towel and cleaned off the top surface just in case I got any fingerprints on it whilst I was putting it back in place. I decided to go with 3M VHB tape for this because they use it in cars, and it also has a fairly decent temperature resistance, so if it's in an enclosure it won't come unstuck over time. So I just cut it down to size, stuck it over that place that we cleaned, and then peeled off the top and then just stuck the buck converter in place. Also importantly, it's actually non-conductive because there are open pins and things on the bottom of there, so if you use something that was conductive you could end up shorting the board. Also incidentally, I'm using 20mm wide tape. But there we have it, there's the upgrade all done and dusted. The actual airflow benefit from this fan is quite dramatic compared to the old one. Out of interest, I measured how far I could feel the airflow coming from the fan compared to the old one, and the old one was very little. It was about 2 or 3 centimeters, whereas this one it's actually closer to 9-10 centimeters, so quite a difference indeed. But yeah, as always, all the links to all the parts that I used will be in the description, as well as any helpful things I think that might be useful for this project. In case you're wondering as to why that I didn't do a traditional intro and outro that I normally do in my videos, due to the coronavirus I've actually had to move out. I've moved into my brother's caravan so I don't end up infecting my mum and dad, because that would be bad, as you can probably imagine, because I'm back at work now. So I currently don't have anywhere to film an intro and outro, or at least not a very good one, so I thought I'll stick with this format for now. I mean, you might even prefer it, let me know in the comments down below. But anyway, thanks everybody for watching. If you enjoyed, please like, comment and subscribe, it helps me out a lot, and I shall see you next time. Ta-da!